This is Quéntar, a mountain village in the province of Granada. With some 800 inhabitants, Quéntar is located in the Sierra Nevada foothills at less than a 20-minute drive from the city. We're here to talk to Alan and Stella Sakers, a retired British couple who came here one weekend 5 years ago to visit friends. Shortly thereafter, they had completed the purchase of an old house and committed themselves to renovating it and coming to live in Quéntar. We're interested in discovering how this radical transformation came about and how it has worked out. Spanish now. So, we go upstairs?
Yes.
I'll bring the dog. Okay. This is the home of Alan and Stella Sakers. We're sitting in Stella's sunny little Eagle's Nest studio at the top of the house. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Alan.
Good morning.
Could you please tell us where you lived in England and what you did there?
We lived in London and we were both in education. I was a primary school teacher.
I was a university teacher.
We're fascinated to know the process you went through to change your lives from London to Quéntar. Did you have extensive knowledge of Spain before you came? Did you speak good Spanish? Did you have a plan?
Saying no to all of that. We didn't have a plan at all.
We were actually going to the Sahara, and to drive to the Sahara from London meant going through Spain. And
that was the first time we'd been here, I think.
Yeah, boy, it was wonderful.
And we went to Salamanca, Sevilla, and then down through Morocco, and then back up through Spain, and
then
sort of
still had
fell
this
in love
idea
with
of
it.
going through Ronda, and that was wonderful. And
we came back to Ronda, I think, a few months later, and began to think about, wouldn't it be great to buy a house here? And so we started looking around Ronda with estate agents.
And it didn't seem... nothing
right.
was quite right. The estate agents were a bit hustly.
Very hustly. I mean, they don't really take any notice of what you ask for. They just want to show you stuff.
They just want to turn over the thing. But nothing is wasted, because everything we saw and we talked about prepared us, though we didn't realise it, for... Was it a third visit? We were in Spain, and some friends in this village we hadn't seen for a long time. We came here, and they took us into Granada, and we had a wonderful time. Yes,
I mean, it just felt absolutely the right place. We loved Granada, we loved the village. And, I guess we went back to England, and then this house came on the market, so Rebecca called us straight away and said, there's a house around the corner. I think you might like it. So we came back, we saw it.
There were no terraces then, there were just roofs. It was in a terrible state.
Yeah, it was a wreck, really.
It wasn't all connected, there were pigsties and goat bits. But I think the preparation we'd done meant that we could see exactly what it could be.
And we wanted to be in a village, we knew that. That's about the only thing we knew.
Could you briefly walk us through the series of events which made you the owners of a ramshackle shell of a house in a Granada village?
We met the owners, who were about 4 siblings.
Yes.
One of whom lived in the village.
And the others in Barcelona.
And the others, I think, had to come from Barcelona because everybody had to sign things. So there's a lot of signing. I guess we paid a deposit. We had to then go into Granada and go to lots of different...
Pedro and Rebecca were terribly helpful. They
took us everywhere.
They took us everywhere. And what was so interesting was this enormous amount of bureaucracy.
But I think it had to be verified that those people owned the house. That was the first thing to do.
So there's a wonderful sort of 3-hour period at the notary's office where they read the contract in Spanish.
And then in English.
They had hired in a translator who read it in
They had to do
English.
all this. Alan fell asleep.
Yeah. There's a nice picture of me, isn't there?
Yeah.
Asleep there. But what I was saying earlier, there's this enormous amount of bureaucracy. I suppose you get bureaucracy in every country, but the Spanish one seemed
it's fast.
complicated. But the people behind it were so lovely, so nice, and made it work so well, and understood that we didn't speak Spanish, and made it all possible for us. But there was the other thing of getting the cash out of England. Our bank in England wasn't as helpful as they ought to have been. We ended up, in order to get everything done on time, having to bring the cash out in cash. I was wearing it.
I was guarding you.
My personal
I was the
bodyguard.
bodyguard.
And then when we handed it over at the bank and told them the story to the bank in Spain, the bank manager was so sweet. She said, "Why didn't you tell me?"
I would have lent it to you. I mean, she barely knew us, but anyway.
It's just extraordinary, just extraordinary.
So
I mean, and that was sort of typical of the whole experience, that people here were so wonderful about it.
So I made up what we did to the house as we went along. You know, we didn't have a great big overview, really. We just sort of...
We'd measured the
everybody
house.
chipped in, the kids chipped in with ideas, and we started downstairs and worked our way up.
What we did, having measured the house, we built a 3D model of the house on the computer. Now, you could have done it out of cardboard. It could have been a doll's house, but it meant that the children could see what we were doing, and we could talk about it and try different ways of doing things. Where should we put the staircase?
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
But I mean, we weren't living here then. We were still working, so we would come in the holidays, in school holidays.
Yeah, yeah.
So the longest period of time.
Did you have an architect?
Only for this bit, not for anything else.
The village employs an architect to give planning permission.
Yes.
And he was very good, very understanding. And there the bureaucracy was very simple. And they came
and
afterwards when the building was done to make sure everything was okay. And the architect knew the builders. And
Besides buying an old house, you were buying a new life. When did you become aware of that fact?
I guess when we retired.
Before, I think, you know, when we were looking around Ronda and looking at the kind of houses, then you're looking at
how you're going to live there.
How you're going to live. And you realise that looking at the house is putting the cart before the horse. First you have to think about how you're going to live. And then you find the house that can do that. No?
Yes, and I think being close to Granada influenced us hugely. You're not being stuck in the middle of nowhere.
What did your children think of your project?
They thought we were mad. You know, they saw the house and just thought it was awful and that we'd never do it. You know, and when it was all stripped back to kind of the stone downstairs, it was terribly dark. You know, I don't think they could see any potential in it at all.
And we had to sleep on a sort of platform and in the winter, and there was no...
Oh, there was no roof.
No roof, so just some plastic to keep us warm.
Yeah. But we had a stove. We had a stove down there. I mean, it didn't bother us at all, but other people came and just said, "Oh my God, you know, what are you doing? Did you realise it was going to be like this?"
So, they thought you were crazy. Were you crazy?
No, I don't think so at all. I
think,
never felt that we wouldn't do it. It was very slow, but that was fine.
I think it's there's so many issues around the transition into retirement, and I think that one of the great things is to take on this kind of a project.
Yeah.
It's such an adventure. It takes you somewhere together, and that's...
well, it's very sustaining, I think. Yeah. It just, you know, I guess it kept us going for 8 years or whatever.
Because it has changed us hugely, getting the house, being here.
I was an 8-foot blonde, you know.
I remember.
Mm.
Some of those changes would happen
anyway.
wherever, but I think doing it in Spain is really interesting. We were in Florence earlier this year for a week, and it was lovely, and the food was wonderful. It was a great place, fantastic shopping, hélas. But it was very interesting when we came back to Granada. I can't put it into words, I'm sorry, but
well, I think,
we felt this was the right place.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people here, anyway, in Quéntar are exceptionally kind. You know, they've really made us feel incredibly welcome. And I can't imagine that, particularly, say, in an English village or a French village.
Or even Italian.
You know, and I love the way in Spain everybody says hello to you in the street, and you go into a shop or a swimming pool or wherever, and people just say hello, and they're just great people. You know, very easygoing, fantastic attitude towards their families, I think, which we certainly don't have at home.
Yeah.
But people are very kind to each other, and
I think because of Spanish history, there is an understanding of what happens if there is not tolerance. So the tolerance here is just wonderful and deeply touching.
Yeah, they are very tolerant, I think. They don't...
You've been here now for 5 years. Have you reached the point where you consider this your home? Are you here for the duration?
It's interesting you ask that question, because we've heard people say that 7 years is a critical point for expats. We don't think of ourselves as expats in that we keep a place in England.
We have a flat in London, so...
And I think that's really important.
For us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like having 2 lives, actually, because we do go back there and we go to India. So... They're both home. This is home and that's home, if that makes sense. That's how I feel.
When we leave here, we feel desperately sad. When we leave London, we feel desperately sad. When we arrive here, we feel
happy,
unbelievably happy. And the same when we go back to England.
Would you recommend a Spanish experience like yours to other people who are crazy?
Absolutely.
And to sane people too.
Totally. Yes. And people have come to stay with us here and want the same thing. Yeah. You know, they want, actually in this village, you know, they said, well, we want a house like yours. And I don't think they realise kind of what's gone into it, because they didn't see it at the very beginning. But, you know, it's lovely that they feel like that.
Stella has a wonderful philosophy, which is expect nothing, enjoy everything.
Thanks very much for your kindness. And congratulations. You're certainly doing something right.
Something right.